Okay, welcome, Lindsey Elmore, to the Whimsy Wellness Podcast. This is such an honor to talk to you and learn from
Oh,
you.
you are too kind. Thank you so much for having me, Meg. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yes, I'm so excited and trying not to fangirl you guys if you don't know Lindsey. This is amazing.
Well, thank you. It's always, it's one of those things. I think that one of the things that I just love is just remembering every single day that I put my pants on like everybody else does. So even if I'm popular and have all the followers and all this other stuff, it's still just me. It's still just
Yes.
me, and we're still just people doing the best things that we can in the world. So no need to fangirl. We're just gonna have this
Yes.
conversation.
I love that so much. I've already learned that with the podcast, just like, oh, wow, these are humans who have Zoom accounts that have technical difficulties and like it's just so nice and refreshing. So I'm excited.
Exactly. I mean, even on my podcast, there have been people that we have reached out to that we just thought there's no way that they will say yes. And sometimes they don't, and sometimes they
Hmm.
do, and they say yes. And so it again, yeah, doesn't matter who it is. Everybody just has Zoom accounts and we're just chatting on a show.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'd love to get started by talking about your background because I find it so interesting and I think listeners will too. Even when I just started using oils, I was like, wait, there's this pharmacist who, uses essential oils. So I'd love to hear because you're a pharmacist, I think when people hear that, at least I think like antibiotics and modern medicine, and that's not your only approach. So, can
Right.
you kind of tell us a little bit about how you got into oils and holistic wellness as a whole and like how they kind of were combined when you were traditionally trained?
Sure. So when I practiced pharmacy in the traditional sense, number one, nobody has a clue what a pharmacist does. When people think of a pharmacist, they're like, oh, they hand me my prescriptions from over a counter. But pharmacists do way, way more than that. So I was a clinical pharmacist trained in family medicine. So I managed the medications of people with diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure and asthma and COPD and tons of just metabolic disease in general. And I started to get increasingly frustrated with the practice of medicine because it was so obvious that if medications worked to actually heal, I wouldn't keep having the same people in my clinic every single week or every
Right.
month talking about managing their chronic diseases. And I started to understand somewhere in my heart of hearts that this was not the way to help people. It was not the way to help people heal. So I also, way back down in pharmacy school, tore my ACL. And long story short, tearing my ACL eventually landed me in the chiropractor's office, which eventually landed me in the acupuncturist's office. And the acupuncturist really opened my eyes that there are multiple ways to view health. There's multiple ways to think through how do you actually help someone heal. So even during pharmacy school, I was kind of that like wacky pharmacy student who was really intrigued by the supplements that people brought in and really intrigued by doing herbal medicine research. And so I started learning more about supplements and herbs long before I got very frustrated with the practice of pharmacy. And at a moment where I was really frustrated with the practice of pharmacy, where I'd had several years of studying herbs and supplements and vitamins and the impact of diet on our health and the impact of loneliness on our health, I kept seeing a friend post on Facebook that essential oils will change your life. And I was like, this girl is crazy because I had a couple of essential oils and none of them had changed my life. And so I ended
Mhm.
up going to her and saying, what are you using? What brands? Like, if you say that these things can change your life, I'm intrigued. And I ended up getting a kit of essential oils. And the day that those essential oils arrived, I knew my life had changed. And it
Mm.
was so weird as a pharmacist to be sitting in my living room floor. Essential oils made me instantly fearless. They shifted emotions in me that had not been shifted
Mhm.
before. And I just sat there and I was putting frankincense on my head and I was putting peppermint on my tongue and I was diffusing blends and just loving the immersive experience of using essential oils. And from that day forward, I started reading every book I could. And so I had a master hand analysis, and part of my personality is I do what's called learn and spew. So as soon as I learn it, I'm going to spew it back out to someone else. So that led me to start teaching
Mm.
online. And the very first class that I taught about essential oils online, people went crazy and just loved it. And we're like, you've got to do this for every single essential oil. Teach us more about supplements, teach us more about personal care products and the toxins that are in there. And so fast forward several years and here I am. I have spent years investigating and researching and really trying to make essential oil education reasonable and rational and put it into the terms of how I would talk about products as a pharmacist. I think that people try to make essential oil education like very woo woo. And so
Mhm.
it's either very woo woo or it's like so esoteric and they're going to sit around and talk about beta phalandrine and like
Yeah.
intentionally try to be
Yeah.
confusing. And I just
Mhm.
wanted to break it down into how do I use this in my pharmacist brain? It's like, well, what's the route of administration? How much do I use in my pharmacist brain? It's the dose. What side effects do I need to look out for? That's adverse drug reactions in my pharmacist brain. How do I
Mhm.
mitigate those adverse effects, which is basically a lot of the practice of pharmacy where you get one medicine and then get put on another medicine to manage the side effects of the first medicine instead of getting down and actually healing what
Yeah.
necessitated that in the first place. So just wanted to bring essential oil and natural product education down to earth and make it easy to understand and fun for people, even if they were beginners or extremely advanced and skilled essential oil users. I wanted to create easy education that anyone could understand.
Yeah, that is incredible, and you for sure have. When I
Thank
first
you.
got started, I grabbed your book, I think it's called Essentials
Essentials
75.
75. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. 75
answers.
answers to questions that I just got asked all the time.
Yes, and that book was I mean, it still is such a good resource. Someone will ask me something and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, of course." And then I'm like flipping through the book to find because it can be kind of intimidating or overwhelming when you're first getting started. And so I've always loved like how you
Yep.
just answer the question. It's not this like just exactly what you said. It's so good. So thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
your story. So I think people sometimes assume, and I used to assume this also because, for my own story, I have a laundry list of past chronic health issues. And so I had like this pill box of 3 times a day. I felt like I was 90 years old at like 18. And
Hmm.
I remember someone being like, "Have you tried essential oils?" And I was like offended. How could you recommend plants to me? um, so I think people think it's very like one side or the other. Like you're either holistic and hippie and essential oils, or you're you trust doctors and you're against that. And it's not. You can use both. There's places for both. And so can you kind of talk about the blend of both traditional and holistic medicine and how like that is very possible for people to do both?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a functional medicine pharmacist, I think about this a lot because one thing is for sure, the American medical system is bar none when it comes to emergency care. If you are having a heart attack, you want to be in an American hospital. If you have a
Mhm.
broken leg, you want an orthopedic surgeon in an American hospital to be working on you. And, I'm sure your listeners in abroad are like, wait, we have great medical systems too. But the way that America just gives instant access to all levels of care is relatively unheard of throughout the
Mhm.
rest of the world. But where Western medicine fails, where allopathic medicine fails, is the we treat disorders. We don't treat patients. We
Mhm.
don't treat patients from the ground up. And we don't spend time working with people about all the preventative stuff that will avoid the need for a heart surgeon, that's going to avoid the need for 3 times a day medication usage. We don't address diet. We don't
Mhm.
address nutrients. We don't address stress. We don't address social connection, which is critically important for health. And we have seen the manifestations of lack of social connection as a part of some of the problems that have occurred within 2020. So
Mhm.
when I think about essential oils and where do they kind of fit in to the whole spectrum of health and wellness practices, essential oils are so far upstream. They are there to help reduce stress levels, which, y'all, I know this sound crazy, but and I know Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. All disease begins with stress. If
Mm.
you are at if you are in a state of chronic stress, you basically obliterate your thyroid, which obliterates your metabolism, which obliterates your ability to stay healthy body weights and to manage the metabolism of your entire body. Excessive stress destroys your immune system. It destroys your sex hormones, leading to problems like infertility or the inability to connect on romantic
Mhm.
levels with people. So, if you don't manage stress, you're going to end up with the physical manifestations that can affect every single body system. And so, if using essential oils is a quick and simple way to reset your stress response, why would you not do that as a part of your overall health and wellness practices? Additionally, essential oils are excellent on the skin. They are excellent to help reduce your toxic burden from skincare products to where, if you've got a spot on your face, applying a drop of tea tree oil versus applying a drop of a really highly concentrated benzoyl peroxide solution that's going to it's going to bleach all of your clothing. It has the risk of causing discolorations on the skin. And also, you might be using products that contain phthalates and BPAs and there's a lot of, people say you are what you eat or you are what you eat. I heard somebody the other day say you are what you can't detoxify. And so
Oh.
if your personal care routine, if your cleaning routine is bombarding you with toxins on the regular, you become less equipped to live an overall healthy life. So, if I am having a seizure, I'm not going to be reaching for my lavender oil,
Yeah.
but if I can work on what I eat, how much I exercise, what kind of social connectivity that I have, as well as listeners, every single one of you, we simply must be focused on stress reduction. Whatever is going on in your life, reducing your stress level will help. And stress a lot of times it's a reaction. People are exposed to the same stressful situations all day every day. Person A has a screaming panic attack. Person B sits back and has a mindful moment that then doesn't engage with the sympathetic nervous system, and instead we spend more of our life in that parasympathetic setup. So, if essential oils can help reduce your stress levels, can help reduce your toxic burden in personal care products, can help reduce your toxic burden when it comes to cleaning products, it's one simple step along the journey that helps you to be overall healthy. So, when we think about health, being healthy is not something that just poof happens. It took you how many years to get into the shape that you're in?
Mhm.
Why do you think you're going to change that instantly? So, if inhaling some essential oils encourages you to do a little bit of meditation, or if dropping in an essential oil into your green juice encourages you to do that behavior every day, one good behavior leads to the next and leads to the next. And that's why I personally love essential oils. And it's also why I love supplements. I'm a huge advocate of supplements, especially now when our food is just so devoid of nutrition. So use one simple step to create the next healthy step. That's where I think essential oils are their most valuable, is in wellness routines that prevent you needing that strong assertive allopathic approach. You may end up needing that at some point in time, and that's not a personal failure. I think that there's too much dogma around,
Mhm.
like, it's like you said, you can either be earthy, crunchy granola, or you can do everything your doctor says without questioning it. No, I want every person in the world to be thinking individuals, empowered owners of their own health, and recognize that ultimately you are your best doctor. You are your best doctor. No one can tell you more accurately what is going on in your own body.
Yeah, so good and so interesting. And I think that is like the perfect transition into, we wanted the whole show to be really about like how to be proactive because you guys were hearing all the awful, awful, scary facts and stories and these things about COVID on repeat, whether it's on the news or
Mhm.
scrolling social media. And it's terrifying, but we're not being told anything like what we can be doing to protect our bodies, to be taking care of our bodies. Like, we're just seeing death numbers and hospital bed numbers and these scary, scary
Right.
things. And it just makes us feel very like doomed, like this feeling of doom and this feeling of like, wow, I literally have no control. Um, and that's not good for stress, of course.
I completely agree. I mean, in your questionnaire that we filled out before we did the show, you asked me like, what's the number one thing you want people to take away from this? And I said,
Mhm.
turn off the news. I mean, everybody just go back in your brain into March. Imagine if, when Fauci had come on the news, when the president had come on the news, when the CDC, the WHO, imagine if instead of coming on the news and saying, like, we're going to lock down everything, we're going to restrict people's ability to earn a living, we're going to need you all to stay separate from each other, which increases loneliness. Which, did you know that loneliness increases your risk of death by 23% compared to people who are
Wow.
not reporting to be lonely? That's
Oh my, yeah.
staggering.
I just got
Imagine
chills.
if, I know, it's so critically important. Humans are social animals, and the amount of research about the critical nature of social interaction for humans, there's paper after paper after paper.
Mhm.
Imagine if instead we had gone on the news and said, okay, first and foremost, we're just going to need everybody to remain calm. We have a new virus coming our way. We don't know how infectious it is. We don't know the risk of death. We don't know what is going to happen. But we do know that washing your hands regularly with soap and water helps to improve your ability to fight infections. We do know that regular exercise reduces the risk of infections. We know that deep breathing exercises can expel bacteria and virus from your body. We know that proper hydration improves the function of the immune system. We know that supplements such as vitamin C, vitamin D, probiotics, glutathione supplements consistently help to bolster your immune system. We know that sleeping at least 8 hours a night helps to you to be able to fight off all kinds of infections because the immune system becomes more active at night. We know that diets rich in plants and vegetables and fruits of all different colors is going to provide antioxidant action, which is going to reduce the inflammation. We know that staying away from sick people is critically important to reduce the risk of transmission. And if we had gone on to the news and told people, hey guys, right now, I know you got some vitamin C in the back of your cupboard. Now might be some time that you would want to use that. If we had also gone on the news and said, all right, everyone, we know that people who are metabolically unhealthy, which is 88% of Americans, 88% of Americans are
Wow.
metabolically unstable. They either have syndrome X, metabolic syndrome, where there's central adiposity around the center of the body, increased triglycerides. And we know that some of it is metabolic disorders, such as syndrome X, but we also know that people suffer from mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular dysfunction. If we had said, now is the absolute best time in your entire life to eat right, exercise, sleep more, drink more water, wash your hands regularly, and we're going to see how this goes. And I think that that messaging could have prevented the stress that came from the world just changing in an instant and there being so much divisiveness among people about how to best manage this. I think the flip flopping narrative of don't wear a mask. Oh, no, now we need you to wear a mask. Well, you don't have to wear a mask here, but you have to wear a mask there. What
Mhm.
if we actually took a step back and said, what are the things that we know that are preventative for every single disease known to man? Eating right, exercising, sleeping well, social connection, water. That's it. That is the
Yeah.
key. That is the key to staying healthy on every single level. And it is one of the key principles of functional medicine. So, functional medicine really takes a step and goes, what is the cause of this? What is the reason that you have autoimmune disease. Not, hey, here's your drugs, here's your $10,000 a month monoclonal antibody. It says, what are you eating that might be causing inflammation? What are you drinking that may be causing inflammation? Do you have a really stressful environment that can be causing inflammation? The problem with stress is that, like I said, it disrupts every part of the body. And stress and anxiety is also a self perpetuating system because of a process called cortisol steal. What happens in cortisol steal is cortisol is one hormone, but it is related to thyroid hormone, and it's most especially to estrogens and testosterones, as well as your hormones that govern your mineral and water balance. So cortisol, if you have too much of it, your body is like not smart and is like, I need to make more of that. And so it steals all of the body's ability to make estrogens and testosterones. And it really, really starts to produce more and more and more cortisol. So once you get into a stressed out frame of mind, it becomes very easy for it to get worse and worse and worse. Simply stop and take a mindful moment. And if the news stresses you out, turn off the news. If being on Instagram stresses you out, don't turn on Instagram. Uninstall it from your phone. It'll be the greatest decision. I uninstalled Facebook from my phone this year. Greatest decision I've ever made.
Mm.
And it's because you're not bombarded with stress signals all day long. So I think that had we taken a better approach from a media messaging perspective, we could have prevented a lot of stress and anxiety. And I think we also could have prevented a lot of the division. And
Yeah.
had we also been more strategic about our response. I mean, come on, guys. It's not like we didn't have a pandemic preparedness plan. We just didn't put it into action fast enough. And it led to so much confusion and so much excessive stress that is not necessary.
Right. And I mean, when you were listing those things, I was feeling empowered. And you're saying, like, what if we talked about these things and recommended these things? And as you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, like feeling so empowered. I can do that. I can drink more water. I can get more sleep. I can, instead of like panic and doom, just if you really get quiet and like feel what your body feels like with panic and doom and empowerment, it really is such a game changer. So yeah, that is a really just powerful, powerful thing. So what are like the top things that, I mean, you named some of them, but I would love to really get into it. So what are the top things that we can be doing to support our immune system?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when it comes to your immune system, the best thing for you to do is to ensure that you have a healthy metabolic system. So, if you're overweight, now's a great time to eat a little bit better. Switch from sugary beverages over to water, get a little bit more exercise, and heal the underlying metabolic issues. And the great news is that doing that will help on every level. It's not just going to help you protect your immune system, but it's also going to help you to not have the need for long-term chronic disease care. I think it's a shame that we in America, especially, we think that having chronic disease is normal.
Mhm.
Chronic disease is not normal and it does not need to be normalized. You were not designed here to live your life half broken. And so really getting down to like what can we do that's going to help on every single level. Dealing with metabolic issues is at the absolute top of the list. And so the immune system really gets out of whack when it comes to dealing with stress, when it comes to nutrient imbalances, if you don't have adequate sleep, if you're not washing your hands, if your gut's not healthy, if your gut is not healthy, it is very, very difficult. People say skin is the barrier to the outside world. Nope, that is a lie, friends. The barrier to the outside world is your intestines and your gut. So if your
Mhm.
gut is not healthy, if you don't have good probiotics and prebiotics, and if you don't have good prebiotics and probiotics, you're not going to be making postbiotics. And so keeping the gut healthy, staying regularly exercising, all of that. And then we also do know that we have some good information about herbs and supplements that have been used to treat coronavirus as well as to prevent coronavirus. So, if you are someone that knows that you have either been exposed to someone who is not feeling well, or if you work in a high risk environment, considering adding in vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin B3 is also really important because vitamin B3 can help reduce lung inflammation. And as we've seen, it's not the actual infection that can be so bad with SARS-CoV-2. What is more challenging with SARS-CoV-2 is that it impacts every body system. People have cardiovascular complications, people have musculoskeletal complications, people have problems with losing their sense of smell. And so part of it is we've got to tone down the inflammatory response throughout the entire body. Ensuring that you have plenty of glutathione or N-acetylcysteine helps to build the immune system. Melatonin is been studied in its effects of helping you to sleep more, which thereby increases the immune system. One of my favorites for SARS-CoV-2 is quercetin. And so quercetin is a flavonoid that has powerful antioxidant effects all throughout the body. It not only reduces inflammation, some people say that it can help to alleviate allergy symptoms, and it has antiviral action directly by inhibiting viral entry into the cells. PEA is a fatty acid. Body needs that one to fight pain and inflammation. There are also supplements called specializing pro-resolving mediators that are similar to omega-3 fatty acids, and they're critical in turning off the body's inflammatory response. I mean, we could go on and on. I think that something insane like 150,000 papers or 100,000 papers have been written this year researching SARS-CoV-2. And so whether you've got curcumin or ECGC, resveratrol, or if you're just simple with zinc and vitamin C, there's a lot of information out there. But really, when you break it down, if you think about what is the best thing that I can do, eat a healthy diet, sleep a lot, drink plenty of water, exercise regularly, and do the self work to reduce
Mhm.
your stress levels. If you don't reduce your stress levels, everybody's system is out of alignment. So it's the stuff that we all know that we need to be doing. It's the stuff we
Mhm.
all know that we need to be doing, but we don't do for some reason. And I think some of the reason that we don't do what we need to do and what we know will make us feel better. You mean, come on, there it's undeniable. If you sit down and eat 3 donuts, you're going to have a sugar high and then a sugar crash, and then you're going to feel like crap. And you're going to look back and go, "Why did I do that? Why did I do
Mhm.
these things?" Love yourself enough to eat right, to exercise, to sleep, to drink more water, and to reduce your stress levels. Love yourself enough, listeners.
It's so good. So good. And like
Thank you.
it can sound it can sound overwhelming to hear like, oh, all these supplements and all these things. But it's like, let it empower you that like there are so many things we can be doing to be preventative with our bodies and our health. And instead of letting it overwhelm you, let it empower you. Like, wow, there's so much I can do
Mhm.
without going to the store, without going
Right.
to a health food store. Like, I can drink more water, I can get more sleep. Just super simple
Yes.
things. That's empowering. So
I
good.
love I love the free health stuff. I love when things are free because part of what is broken with Western medicine is that the interventions that make the most money are the most expensive for
Mm-hmm.
consumers. And that I think has also been a confusing thing this year. Does hydroxychloroquine work or does it not? Does ivermectin work or does it not? And why is every drug that's coming out, I mean, $30,000? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I love when you really can take a step back and go, meditating is free. Actually having the discipline to get in bed at 9 o'clock at night and going to sleep and getting really restful sleep is free. And you can get bells and whistles and sound machines and blackout curtains and blah, 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 but you don't have to. Health and
Mm-hmm.
wellness can be very simple. And I know a ton of people are like, you're telling me to eat fresh fruits and vegetables and this and that. And it's so expensive. Well, remember your dirty dozen and your clean 15. Put your strategic emphasis on buying foods that are on that clean 15 list where it's not as critically important for you to buy organic. And even if you say, look, I can't do this all at once, because that's not the way that we're built. We're built to maintain our habits that have gotten us to where we are. So if you can't do it all at once, don't stress out. What can you do today? What's the one
Mm.
thing that's going to lead to the next thing?
Yes. So what are like 3 to 5 free things people can do?
Oh, let's think. Go outside and take a walk, get exposure to sunlight that is free for you. Drink water. All throughout most of America, sorry, Flint, Michigan, we are so blessed to have water that freely flows out of our faucets. And of course, you can upgrade and get the amazing Berkey filter so that you can avoid the fluorides and this and that. But really and truly, the water is there. Take access and like do it. Calling a friend and keeping social connections with people, also free. Meditating. Seriously, friends, spend 3 minutes a day meditating. And if 3 minutes sounds like a lot, try 1 minute. Pause
Mhm.
and breathe for 1 minute. Most of us have lost the art of breathing, and it's very important that we breathe correctly. So, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose is free. And what does that do for you? It reduces your cortisol levels. It expands your hippocampus, which is like your emotional resilience center. It shrinks the size of your amygdala, making you less likely to feel stressed out. It also helps to clear toxins out of the lungs. It also helps to maintain your pH in your body because a lot of the times when we breathe, we are balancing out our pH by the expulsion of carbonic acid throughout our nose or our mouths. It has such broad reaching effects. It's going to improve your heart rate variability, lower your blood pressure. The list just goes on and on and on because you took 1 minute to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And find an app. There's tons of free apps that can help to empower your practices. So, those are just a few things that come to mind as free ways that you can take care of yourself that's not going to break the bank.
So good. Okay, so what are some Supplements, like 3 to 5 supplements. I told you guys to have a pen and paper for this episode. So what are some supplements?
I think number one, if you are breathing, take a vitamin D3 supplement. And it is important that
Mm,
you take D3 cholecalciferol instead of D2, which is ergocalciferol. And we don't have time to get into the why, but just trust me. So we have an epidemic of vitamin D deficiencies, and vitamin D deficiencies basically shows that you're at risk for more adverse outcomes than people who do not have vitamin D deficiency. So I'm a huge advocate of vitamin D3. I also love an MSM supplement, a methyl sulfonyl methane supplement that equips your body to build glutathione, which is your master antioxidant and a master detoxifier. I personally think that everyone should be using a prebiotic and a probiotic. Now, the best place for you to get pre and probiotics is from your food. So, probiotic supplements are placeholders. They are not something necessarily that you need every single day. But if you're unwilling to eat prebiotic foods, you are going to need a pre and a probiotic supplement. But if you really focus on your prebiotic foods, your probiotic levels in your gut are going to naturally balance out. Another thing that you can do for your gut that is also a cost savings, reduce the amount of meat that you eat. Now, don't throw stones at me. I know that meat, I mean, come on, friends, meat is undeniably delicious. But when you eat diets that are highly concentrated in meat, you shift your gut flora, and your gut flora end up becoming more likely to produce through a long chain of metabolism. They ultimately produce something called TMAO, which is one of the most pro inflammatory substances that you can have in the whole world. And so your gut basically becomes this inflammatory generator when you over consume meat. And ultimately, I don't know what that cutoff is, but especially red meat really drives these inflammatory processes and makes us overall less healthy. So reduce the amount of meat that you're eating so that your gut bacteria can do what they need to do to provide the anti inflammatory effects. So, MSM supplement, vitamin D supplement, I personally take a B vitamin supplement each day because B vitamins are water soluble, so we're constantly eliminating them from
mhm.
our bodies. Especially if you drink alcohol, alcohol rapidly depletes vitamin B, and so you want to take some B vitamin supplements, and then ensuring that you're getting a good mix of prebiotics and probiotics in the diet. And there's nothing wrong with just taking a really nice old school multiple vitamin. I also am a huge fan of ashwagandha and many of the Ayurvedic adaptogens. And so the in Ayurveda there are a lot of adaptogenic herbs that help to provide the support that you need. So ashwagandha, tulsi, licorice, moringa, shatavari are all adaptogenic herbs that when you take them, they only exert what your body needs in that moment. So whereas like with vitamin E and vitamin A, you can overdose on those and they can become rapidly toxic. Adaptogenic herbs are a more gentle way to balance out the body. So, I mean, I could talk all day. It really depends on what's going on inside the person. You know,
Mhm.
if you're facing hormone deficiencies, perhaps you do need some pregnenolone supplementation or DHEA. But really, when you get to the basics, I think about vitamin D, perhaps some multiple vitamin that's going to be sure that you're getting plenty of vitamin C, etc., an MSM supplement, probiotics, prebiotics, and then some of the adaptogenic herbs. And if that all is overwhelming and confusing, I do accept functional medicine patients. And so come and let's just chat it out. Let's figure out what's going on in your life and how we can help you to help yourself feel better. Because I can tell
Yes.
you what to do, but until you love yourself enough to do it, it's just, it's falling on deaf ears.
Yes, for sure. And investing in this took me a while to learn, but investing in our health, it seems like, oh, yeah, but I want to buy a couch or I want to go on vacation. But when we invest in our health, we are investing in every other area that might sound more important because yeah, it's just so important. So yeah, like using those supplements or hopping on a call with what did you say your title
With a
was?
friend, or or
Yeah.
yeah, or come and we'll do some functional medicine and we'll really get
Yeah.
down to what's causing these problems in your life. And let's not stop at, oh, you have, in functional medicine they call it the name it, blame it, and tame it game.
Mhm.
So we come in and you say, well, my hair's falling out. And instead of taking a step back to say, like, what is the cause of what is making it, you may take a step back and go, oh, it's thyroid problems. But instead of saying, like, well, can we ensure that we have enough iodine in the diet? Can we ensure that we don't have goitrogens in the diet, etc.? It becomes like, okay, well, we blame your thyroid and here's something to tame it and to make it work the way that you want it to. You can't manipulate the body in that way.
Mhm.
If you're experiencing discomfort, dis-ease in your body, it's your body telling you something. It's your body saying to you, hey, I need attention in this area for these reasons. And we have to love ourselves enough to listen. We have to
Yeah.
love ourselves enough to listen.
Yeah, we do for sure. I think the first instance for me where someone, a medical professional, had like asked that those questions, this year I had a baby, or in 2020 I had a baby, and I had a home birth midwife, and she asked me like, so you're going to fill out this chart on your diet, and I'm just like, what? This is
Yes.
and how crazy, like now thinking back, how crazy is it that having a baby, that was the first medical professional who asked me like what I ate, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it's so crazy too because one of my colleagues is a women's health provider, and she's like, when I start asking them about, they're there for infertility. They want to know, how do I have a baby? I have infertility problems. When she starts talking to them about how much they poop, they think that she has three heads.
Mhm.
But the body is not, your uterus is not broken, which is leading to the infertility. The whole body's function is disturbed on some level. And you have to fix that disturbance in order to fix the ultimate problem that you're trying to fix. But you have to take a step back and realize that you are not your problems.
Mhm.
You are
Mhm.
not defined by having hypothyroidism or having autoimmune disorder or having infertility. I think so many women put blame on themselves about, especially within the essential oil community. How many of you have heard, like, if you used essential oils you wouldn't be sick? That is so uncompassionate and
Mhm.
unempathetic, because the fact of the matter is we all get sick. This
Mhm.
year, oh my goodness, it has just boggled my mind that I'm like, wait, you guys, wait, we as a collective do not understand that it is perfectly normal for an adult to run a fever, experience an illness, to have short term problems. That is totally normal. This idea that we are supposed to live chronically ill is a lie. It is
Mhm.
also a lie that we are never supposed to have acute healthcare challenges. It does not make you a bad person. You have to take a step back and ask yourself a question that a pharmacist asked me. It changed my life forever. When I tore my ACL, she asked me, "Why did you need this injury? Why did you need
Mm.
this injury? Why did you need the years of infertility to ultimately end up with a perfect child? Why did you need an autoimmune disease to help inspire you to eat better and exercise?" Take a step back and recognize that you have the answers to health inside of you. You simply have to love yourself enough to do it. You have to have enough care for yourself. And you also have to break away from the idea that women are supposed to be caregivers all of the time,
Mhm.
and recognize also that if one part of your body is at a place of discomfort, it is simply a signal that you have an opportunity to feel better, to take better care of yourself, and to find a practitioner who sees you not as infertility patient A or hypothyroid patient B, who sees you as an entire person. Treat the
Mhm.
person, not the diagnosis.
Yeah.
I think that so often it's like, I don't feel good and I go to the doctor and I get told that I have lupus. And it's like, oh, congrats, we named it. Now we know what it is. But no, you didn't figure out what is the cause of the reason that you have lupus. Is it stress? Is it a stealth infection? There's so many things that you can uncover about yourself, but you have to be willing to be quiet and to listen internally so that you end up being your best doctor.
Yes. And oddly enough, I was diagnosed with lupus. And I remember, like, finally, okay, I have an answer, And I go home and look up lupus, and it's literally like I'm reading, like, it's your body attacking itself. And I'm just like
Mhm.
overcome with shame. Why is my body attacking itself? And then,
Yes.
like, literally, I loved myself enough, just like what Lindsay is telling us, enough to, like, not accept that. Our bodies don't attack themselves. That is crazy. And so, like, why is this happening? And I I'm like in remission, like because I loved
Yeah.
myself enough to just, like, I'm not accepting that I'm just broken at 20 years old.
Right. And the fact that you, I'm sure, had doctors that were like, okay, well, here's our treatment plan. We're going to put you on steroids, or we're going to put you on some sort of anti-inflammatory drug, blah, blah, blah. But we don't take a step back to say, have we addressed leaky gut? Do you maybe have a gluten intolerance? Do you live in a house that is so covered up in mold or heavy metals? Do you have Epstein-Barr virus? Do you have stress? I mean, one of the absolute root causes of lupus is stress, is
Mhm.
just stress. So if we don't take a step back and say, okay, we're calling this lupus, but instead of saying like, and now we're just going to throw a bunch of medications and a bunch of this at it and that at it, if we take a step back and say, hmm, I wonder if you went off gluten for a month, if your symptoms would get better. I wonder if
Mhm.
we tested for gluten sensitivity, if it would come back positive. And that is actually the goal of my practice, is not to name, blame, and tame. But what I really want people to do is understand that you are a magnificent being designed to be well. You
Mm.
deserve to go through life feeling well, being able to do the things that you want to do. I mean, I'm going to tell on my dad, and he won't listen to the show, so it doesn't matter. He My dad drives me crazy because he has the mindset that it is inevitable that as you get older, you will feel bad. Part of
Mm.
being healthy is the belief that you are healthy. So if meditating on a mantra such as, every cell in my body is happy, healthy, and functioning exactly the way that it is supposed to. I mean, imagine that transition from the mindset of your body is attacking itself. And you just say,
Yeah.
no. And you say, every cell in my body is happy, healthy, and functioning exactly like it's supposed to. That is really a different mindset. I sit in the floor all the time. I'm a floor sitter, and
Yes,
my
me
dad
too.
is like, "Oh, I love that." And so, yeah, my dad is sitting there. He's like, "Well, give it a few years and you won't be sitting on the floor anymore because you won't be able to get up." And I'm like, "Dad, I sit on the floor every single day, and my body will continue to know how to do that as long as I don't stop."
Mhm.
And so, just take a step back and recognize that you deserve to be healthy. You deserve to be loved most of all by yourself in this world. Otherwise, why be here? Why be here in earth school? Why say I want to come and be a part of this earthly experience? Because I do think, you can call me crazy if you want to, but I do think energetically we choose to be here during the
Mhm.
times that we are here on earth. And if you're not going to make the best of it and not live the best life that you possibly can, to me, that doesn't fulfill your destiny. That doesn't
Mhm.
equip you to graduate from earth school when we die and go like, I learned as many life lessons as I possibly could. You can call it dharma if you want to, if you put it into Eastern philosophy, or if you want a more Judeo-Christian approach. God says, I laid a path for you. If you're not there joyfully and just with meaning and passion and gusto walking through life, why? Why bother?
Mhm.
What is stopping you from being able to do that amazing thing?
Yes, so good. And like I came into this conversation thinking I would learn something, but I'm just so empowered. So thank you for all of that.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
let's go into essential oils and what essential oils we can be using to care for our immune system.
Oh my goodness. I mean, really and truly, it's the basis of the immune system is really governed by stress. And so, whatever essential oil that you're using, just use it to help reduce your stress levels. Of course, we do have powerful essential oils that have properties that can help to combat foreign invaders that might be a threat to you. So, considering things like oregano and thyme and lemongrass are options there as well. But keep it simple. Inhale some lavender, some bergamot, that it's going to help to calm and center the immune system. You can also think about things like copaiba, which have some really powerful immune modulating effects to where you can help to keep the immune system calm throughout the entire day. Honestly, I think people get so hung up on what's the right oil? How much do I use? What is the exact way to do things? But that's not the way essential oils are. That's not the way that they work. You can think about using essential oils to support your immune system. But really and truly, I could tell you, you got to have rose oil. Well, if you don't have rose oil in your house, don't be stuck. Don't be
Mhm.
stuck. Recognize that geranium smells almost like rose oil, and perhaps maybe it can have the same effects. I also think about things like tea tree oil, which has the terpene 4-all, which activates the production of leukocytes. There's frankincense, which also positively affects leukocyte production. Cavercol, thymol in oregano essential oil, as well as thyme essential oil, can help to aid against foreign invaders. Lemon essential oil is just so powerfully concentrated in limonene, which helps to balance the immune system. And then, thinking also about things like cinnamon and rosemary, you're going to have 1,8 cineol inside of those, which helps to have really good immune balancing abilities. And then clove activates the immune response. Clove can be one of those that can help you to say, like, whoa, I just got exposed to something. Let me take care of that. And so
Mhm.
those are some of the essential oils that come to mind. But if you don't have those, use the one in your hand. Use the one in
Yes.
your hand.
Yes. We get so caught up in like how many drops and how do we use it, and that it's like this analysis paralysis. And I was the same way when I first started with oils, but it definitely is like use what you have. It's
Yeah.
all, and so I'm sure people listening will, they're writing down the names of the oils you listed and they're saying, okay, how do we use those? Like the how.
Mhm.
So, can you kind of talk about how do they go about using, and if whether they have all of those or just one?
Absolutely. So there's some basic primary ways that you use essential oils. Number one, don't make essential oils complicated. I'm going to teach you what someone taught me. Essential oils, I think we try to make them so complicated, but really, if you get down to it, how do you use an essential oil? You open the bottle.
Mm,
Open the bottle. So you can inhale them directly from the bottle. You can pour them out into your hands and inhale them off of your hands. You could also, I love applying essential oils to my chest. You can use them in a diffuser. So using them aromatically is one way. You can also apply them topically on your skin with or without the use of a fatty carrier oil. You can also ingest essential oils. This is what a lot of people consider to be the most aggressive way to use essential oils. And I'm like, honey, when you inhale that, it goes directly into your brain.
yeah.
So I think my guts got a little bit, I consider my brain a little bit more sacred space than my intestines, but that's just me.
Mhm.
People throughout the years, there is published literature of using essential oils rectally, using them vaginally, but I tend to stick to just those primary three: aromatically, topically, and ingestion. How do you know which one to do? Well, think about what you want the oil to do. If you want to shift your mood, you better be using them aromatically, because that is how they get into your brain, get into those emotion centers, etc. If you want your skin to look better, you're going to apply it on your skin. If you want to support your digestive system or your internal systems, taking them by mouth may be the best approach for you. I think one of the myths about essential oils is that they are all universally safe, no matter how much you use. This is not true. If you pour
Mhm.
cinnamon in your eye, it's going to really, really hurt. And so be reasonable and rational with how much of the oil that you're using. Essential oils are not, I think a lot of times people say, oh, well, if one drop is good, 10 must be better, because that's the American mindset. Not true. This is not true when it comes to essential oils. One drop will do just fine in many, many situations. So think about what you want the oil to do for you, and then decide how you're going to use it.
Yes. So good. And just simplify. That simplifies it, It just
Yes.
and because we are smart. So just ask, what do I want it to do? And if you're still overwhelmed, open the bottle. So let's kind of go to rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
So just real quick, whatever comes to mind, what is a book that changed your life?
I'm currently reading The Power of Now, and there are some
Mm.
amazing nuggets in there that are just so profound. So that's the one that immediately came to mind.
Okay, I've heard of that, so I'm gonna look that up. What is heavily played on your music playlist right now?
Oh, loads, y'all. I listen to such trashy music. So I got my list of my top songs of 2020, and my number one song that I listened to on repeat more than anyone was OT Genesis, Everybody Mad. And
Yes.
yeah, don't listen to it around little kids, friends.
I love that. Okay, what's your go-to essential oil roller blend right now since we're whimsy and wellness after all?
Oh, wow. Well, Whimsy and Wellness and I collaborated on some absolutely beautiful crystals boxes for the holidays. So
Mhm.
I've been using all those holiday rollers. If I think about what do I put in my immune blend, I put tea tree, lemon, oregano, frankincense, cinnamon, rosemary, eucalyptus, clove, and lemon in there. So that's another one that I love, and that recipe is over on my blog. It's just DIY immune booster, and that has a link to the recommended bottle that I recommend from Whimsy and Wellness, which is the pyrite roller, because it helps to remove negative energies from the environment.
Ooh, okay, cool. We will put that in the show notes, you guys, and then you can just click right over there because that sounds amazing. Okay, so what are some resources that people can get through you, and how can they follow along with you and keep learning from you moving forward?
Absolutely. Well, you can head to lindseyelmore.com if you would like to book an appointment or peruse our very extensive blog. That is there. I also, if you decide that now is your moment where you want to take that step and get more metabolically healthy, I host a plant based cleanse, and that is available at cleanslatecleanse.com. And if you're interested specifically on essential oil and supplement education related to young living essential oils, I have a website called YL Ed Club, which is where I provide young living education. And listeners for the show can head over and use the code Whimsy to get 2 weeks free in the YL Ed Club.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And how can we follow along with you on like socials?
Oh, you can find me at Lindsey Elmore on Facebook and Instagram, and I am at Dr. Dr. Lindsey Elmore on Pinterest. And I'm also on LinkedIn. Just find Lindsey Elmore. I'm not hard to find online. And I would love for you guys to come and follow. I'm such a fan of Whimsy. And so if you are a fan of Whimsy and Wellness and you're looking for a resource to provide many more DIY blends, come and follow my blog, join the mailing list. And if you head over to lindseyelmore.com and you go to, oh my goodness, I got to tell you, I got to give you the right URL. I actually have a handout, a free download on chakra roller blends that you can use if you're just starting your whimsy and wellness journey and you've got some roller balls. If you head to lindseyelmore.com/chakra, CHAKRA, there's a free download that you can use that will give you 7 different DIY blends to use with your whimsy and wellness rollers.
Amazing. Okay, so like I said, I went into this thinking I would just learn a lot, but I not only learned a lot, but feel just so empowered. And so thank you so much for
Oh,
coming
thank
on
you for
and
having me. And congratulations on the podcast.
thank you. We'll have to have
I
you back.
can I can't wait to listen. And hey, she won't tell you, but I will. Go rate and review the podcast, everybody.
Thank you so much.